Usually, trading mistakes cost you money. This time I got very, very lucky. The wrong limit buy order gave me an almost optimal exit to make a bit more than 2,000 euros on this trade. Let me guide you through the trade. Make sure you stick around for some learnings that can help your trading. But first, let's look at the overall trade. On this hourly graph of the mini Dax Futures, you can see I entered up here pretty optimally. Took my profit by mistake down here, which turned out to be also pretty great, and then stopped out the rest of the position here. Overall, the gross P&L was 2,045 euros, and after trading costs, this turned out to be 2,043 euros. My realized reward to risk ratio was 8.2, which is insane. Now let's look at this setup. This is the daily chart, a day before I took the trade. And the first thing I noticed is that in the last major swing high, we didn't manage to take out the all-time high here. So this is already at least a non-bullish sign. Second of all, I noticed we had a trend line forming here, which also kind of looks like a downward facing triangle. On top of this, we had the lower end of a Walden profile area, so this could act as additional resistance. From a fundamental point of view, at this time, there was a lot of talk about a possible Russian attack in Ukraine, and this obviously added some bearish pressure on the stock market at the time. Now the question is, how would I enter this? I decided to put a limit order just below the round numbers here at 15,495 points with an initial stop loss of 15,620, which is just above this little high here. Alternatively, if you want to be a bit more conservative, probably you could put your stop loss above the swing high here. What do you think? How would you have entered the trade? Let me know your thoughts. In terms of size, my plan was to enter two lots for a total risk of 250 euros. And my first target area would be around 15,000, 15,100 points, somewhere down here, just above this support line. And this would give me a reward to risk of 3 points, which is quite good. Now let's go to the hourly chart to see what happened. And this is the 16th of February 2022. And we can see pre-market, we're heading towards that resistance area. And of course, in the second hour of trading, we hit all the resistance and we have a small sell-off. Here's my first mistake. I thought I entered the limit order that was good till cancelled. However, I entered the limit order good for the day the night before, so I had nothing. Luckily, I realized it quickly enough and I entered the trade at market, which gave me a fill of 15,480. So we entered the trade around here for two lots. And in the first few hours, we're seeing really nice momentum down. So it's really working. At this point, I'm going to put my stop loss just above the swing high here, because if we break this, we'll probably just continue higher and the resistance is not holding. So throughout the day, we're moving a bit lower and then we're just moving sideways for the rest of the day. Spiking a bit up, which is normal. It's a retracement buff. And then the next day, pre-market, we're actually moving down and we're breaking the swing low of the previous day, which is a very good sign. However, on the open, we're actually rallying up. At this point, because we broke this little swing low here, I'm putting my stop loss just above 15,450, so somewhere around here. And we almost get stopped out. For the day, again, nothing much happening, and then in the afternoon, we break again the swing low. Now this is a very good sign. Now I want to see continuation, maybe until down here, until the first target of 1,500, 100. And we move and we get there. At this point, I could have taken some off because this is the area of my first target. However, because the overall trend is so bearish, I decided to just leave the foot position on and leave the stop up here, just above these little highs here for now. Then the next day comes, and at pre-market we see a bit of a rally. which is not ideal, but okay. But luckily, not much happens. Then throughout the day, it's slowly going down, and then we see a huge drop. The only thing that's not really ideal here is that we're closing this candle more or less within the low here. I would have liked it to be a much better close here and not really have a wick. At this point, we put the stop above the swing high here. So 15,360, something like this. And we're already nicely in the money, which is always a good thing. Then for the day, the bearish pressure continues, but as you can see, there's a major support line here at 15,000 points, shows a round number, so we expect not too much action here. And as expected, small bounce. Let's see what happens next. And pre-market the next day, we open lower, but we quickly jump back above. Again, not ideal. In fact, we have a bounce here, but we're still below the 20 period moving average. And next day, okay, bullish, not ideal. But then we go back, all good. And now it looks like bear momentum is there. And at this point, again, new trailing stop, basically just above this little swing high, so something like 15,260, just to give it a bit of room. Now something interesting happens. We form a double bottom here. And while some people might say this is a turning point, I think if we break this, we should have a lot of momentum. And if we do break this, I want to put my stop loss also much closer. And the next part we break it, and we go even lower. So at this point, we're starting to overextend as well. So I am now putting my stop loss just above the big round number of 15,000. So something like 15,050 points, somewhere around here, which should give enough room even if you have a small retracement. We don't really have an retracement, but we have some congestion. And now something interesting again happens. For a few bars, we traded within this bar here, which is normal, and usually you see wicks that go out on either side, and then you close within the range again. But now we closed below it, which is a very bearish sign. And at this point, I'm thinking, okay, where should I start taking some profit? And at that point in time, I thought, okay, we'll might have a chance to go another 500 points to 14,000. And I wanted to enter a limit buy order for one piece at 14,005. By my mistake, I put in 14,405. So 2 fours instead of 1. And yeah, I get almost a fill here. And then the next hour, I get a fill down here at 14,405. And it's a mistake. But as we will see, it was a lucky mistake because now we're starting to form another position area in the pre-market again. And yeah, we're trading sideways range again and again. And then at the market open, we close below this range again. And like I said before, here we traded within the range of this bar, tested the highs, couldn't hold. Now we're closing below. So for me now, we should not go above this again. In fact, we should actually not go back inside this range again. And I put my stop loss for the remaining position just here at 14,510. And the next hour we actually get stopped out here, which is fine because now it looks like to me that this break here was a fake and we might go higher. My thoughts on this trade are good that I let it run. Maybe it was a bit too risky at my first target here. So maybe I should have taken some off around 15,100 and then play the bounce and maybe enter here again. But it's important to give some space to home runs and sometimes go for the home runs. And the fundamental picture kind of pushed me towards it. Maybe it's a bit too greedy, but in this case, it worked out for me. The two technical mistakes that I did with entering the orders wrong. First, with the entry orders that I thought were good to cancel, but were only good for the day. And then the typo with the limit order to buy it back are very annoying and should not happen. Luckily, this time it gave me around 100 points because I would have probably put a stop here anyway after seeing this down here. So yeah, it gave me 100 euros, but it should not happen. Overall, I think the second stop is fine because at this point we're quite overextended. There was no retracement here, and we probably go up to 14,800 or even more, maybe even 15,000. And at this point, this is too much profit to give up. If this review was interesting for you, make sure to hit the like button. Happy trading and see you next time.